everyone. In today's lecture, we will be talking about Introduction to Relational Database Management System, that is commonly known as RDBMS. So, this model was first proposed by Dr. E.F. Codd of IBM Research in 1970. It provides a standard way of representing and querying data used by any application. So the most fundamental elements in relational model are relations, which users and modern RDBMS recognize as tables. So what is basically a relation? A relation is a set of tuples or rows with each tuple sharing a set of attributes or columns. So what is the most basic thing? The most basic thing here is a tuple, that is the row, and a set of attributes or columns. Now we'll be talking about what is a domain. A domain of possible values represents the data type, describing the type of values that can appear in each column. So corresponding to each column, we will be having a specified domain. Also, you need to note down that the number of attributes in a relation is called degree. Whatever will be the number of attribute, that will be called its corresponding degree. Now, what is SQL? SQL is structured query language, which has been used as the language for relational database queries. Now, whenever you need to make a query, you need to make use of SQL, that is the structured query language. Now, here we can see the example of RDBMS. We have also discussed that basically the information in the case of relational database management system is information is presented in the form of a table. So here we can see a table, and the name of the table, as we can see, is student. The table name is called as the relation. Okay, so here you can see that the relation name here is student, and we have discussed that in the case of relational data model, there are different tuples. So what is basically the tuple? Tuple is a row. So here we can see that we have different tuples. Also, we have the different columns such as roll number, first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, gender, house number, street name, city, state, and pin code. So these different columns are the attributes of the table, or we can say of the relation student, and corresponding to these attributes we have different rows, and these rows are known as the tuples. So this is one of the basic simple example. Now let us look at some common terminologies that are used in relational model. So these are database, relation. A relation is basically a table. Also, we have different attributes, fields, or we have just discussed that these are basically the different columns. Then we have domain. Domain is basically the set of allowed values. Then there are different records or the rows, which are known as the tuples. Also, we have seen that what is a degree? Degree is basically the number of attributes in that particular table. Now, let us look at what are the different characteristics. So, the first character is duplicate tuples must not be present in a relation. So here again we have a relation, and the name of the relation here is department, and we have three columns, or we can say there are three attributes. First is department ID, department name, and department location. So what the first property says, that duplicate tuples must not be present in a relation. Here we can see that D05 is repeated. D05 mechanical Ramanujan block. This information is repeated. So this kind of value is not allowed. Duplicate values, duplicate tuples are not allowed in the case of relational data model. Now, what does the second attribute says? It says that each tuple must have exactly one data, that is, only atomic values are allowed for a particular attribute. Here we can see that we have a student table, student phone number table, in which we are having two columns, student roll number and the phone number. Corresponding to few entries, there are more than one value for phone number. So this kind of values, multiple values are not allowed. You need to have only atomic values. Now, also you need to see that tuples in a relation do not have to follow a significant order, as the relation is not order sensitive. So the order doesn't matters. In the example below, we can see that both of these department relations are the same. So this kind of relation will not be allowed, because this is simply repetition of one table. Now let us look at what is a relational schema. A relation schema R, denoted by R, which is having a set of attributes A1, A2. It can have any number of attributes, comprises a relation name R and list of attributes. Each attribute is the name of the role played by some domain D in the relation schema R. Also, we have seen that what is a degree? Degree of a relation is the number of attribute N of its relation schema. So, what is the domain? Domain is a set of original set of atomic values used to model data. Domain can be specified via the data type, format, and set of possible values from which the data values are drawn. So this was about what is a domain. Here we can see an example in which it is specified that we are having different attributes such as roll number, first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, gender, house number, street name, city, state, pin code. And we are having different attributes such as domain. We are having different attribute name. So here the domain names are provided. Also, we are having the meaning. For example, if we talk about roll number, so this roll number contains the set of all roll numbers of student. And we have the domain definition that says the character size is 50. Similarly, you can define it for the different attributes of the table. So, let us now see what are the informal terms and what are the corresponding formal terms. First, we have table, that is known as a relation. Then we have a column header, and these column headers are known as the attributes. And all possible column values. So these all set of possible column values, the formal terminology is a domain. Then informal terminology that we have is a row, and these rows are known as the tuples. And the table definition that we provide is basically the schema of the relation. Now, I hope you are able to identify that corresponding to these different informal terms, what are the different formal terms that we have. Now, What is the basic suitability of these relational database models? So it is best suitable for managing the structured in the database. It represents the database as a collection of relations. So you will be having a wide variety of relations depending upon the requirement of your database. It can have multiple relations, and each row in the table represent a collection of related data values. The table name and the column name are used to help to interpret the meaning of values in each row. Now, again, we have the example. We have a table, we have different attributes, and corresponding to it, we have different tuples. Now, I hope you will be able to answer these questions, like describe the difference in meaning between the terms relation and relation schema. What are the importance of relational model? Describe few characteristics of relations. What is the difference between schema and instance in DBMS? Let us summarize what we have studied. We have studied about the understanding the structure of relational model, to understand the database schema, relational model objects, and importance of relational model objects. To understand the basic terminology used in relation model, and to give brief introduction of relations, tuples, and domain with example. So this was about today's lecture. Thank you so much for listening to the lecture.